Hello and welcome to this event, Getting to Know the Specification for the T-Level Technical Qualification in Accounting, the core component. In this video, we will cover an overview of the T-Level Technical Qualification in Accounting structure, a high-level look at the core component content, and a high-level look at the core component assessments. This slide contains an overview of the technical qualification, or TQ in short. The TQ is split into two components, the core and the occupational specialism. The core is 500 guided learning hours and has 3 assessments. We will look at each assessment in more detail later in this presentation. There is one occupational specialism, assistant accountant. This is 600 guided learning hours and is assessed through the occupational specialist project. For this particular TQ, your students must undertake the core component and the occupational specialism. The core and occupational specialism components can be delivered however you feel is best for your students. The integration of their industry placement and access to expertise and resources at your centre. For example, you could deliver the core in year 1 and the occupational specialism in year 2. Or both components at the same time, or staggered, so the core starts first, then dual teaching, and then finishing off with the occupational specialism. The choice is totally yours. For information on the delivery, please make sure you attend our Getting Ready to Teach events. In total, there are 13 elements within the content of the core component. Elements 1 to 12 have the same titles across accounting and finance, but are expanded differently to focus more on the TQ in question. This one labels some element of co-teaching across the T-level in accounting and the T-level in finance. Element 13 focuses purely on accounting and acts as a stepping stone into their vocational occupational specialism. You can teach the content in any combination of order that works for you and your students. However, we recommend that the elements are delivered holistically to make the most of teaching opportunities. Each element acts as a title. For example, here is element 1, the business environment. The content for the element is then divided into sub-elements. These sub-elements expand on the title to show the areas that you need to teach. So here, 1.1, 1.2 and 1.6 are all examples of sub-elements for the element 1 business environment. The size of the element and the number of sub-elements will vary. The size of each element depends on how much your students will need to know for that topic area. So as a rough guide, the larger the element, the more time should be spent teaching the area, and the greater the amount of assessment there will be. However, you recognise that some topics are more difficult than others and may take your students more time to understand. As a result, you'll have to take this into account in your teaching time. No, there is no focus now we'll focus on the sub-element. So in this example, the sub-element is 1.5, the role of the government in controlling and directing the economy. Each sub-element is expanded further. This gives you the depth and breadth of the knowledge required. So here you can see bullets 1.15, 1.5.1, 1.5.2 and 1.5.3 are part of the expanded detail of the sub-element L1.5. Plus, these bullets may contain a list of factors or further expansion, all forming the content of the sub-element. The sub-element seen here as 1.3, the responsibilities of corporate governance within an organisation, and as 10.3, principles of data and analytics and its use to support decision-making in the accounting professions, is a rider statement. The rider sits above the expanded content and is either a title for what to come, or it affects and needs to be applied to the expanded content. In example 1.1, the responsibilities of corporate guidance within an organisation, this is a title. The bullets that sit underneath give an expansion title and show what to teach about responsibilities and corporate governance. And the example 10.3, Principles of Data Analytics, it's used to support decision making in the accounting professions. This has been expanded to see 10.3.1 and the sub-bullets under to show that the principles of data and what the methods and tools are. But the writer also requires its use to support decision making. So as a tutor, you will have to supply this requirement to the expanded content to show the students how decisions are made from the data. So you already know that the core component is assessed by 2 externally assessed exams and an employer-set project, all of which will be marked by Pearson. We're restricted to 2 exam series per year, so if we decided on a summer series taking place in May, June and a November series, we strongly advise that you do not enter students who are in the first year of their programme in the November series. The core content is 500 guided learning hours, and your students will not be prepared to undertake the core component assessments within only 6 weeks of teaching. Hopefully you've already had taken a look at the scheme of assessment in the specification. We're going to use this section of the specification to look at a little more detail at the core exams and the employer set project. There are 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Both are 2.5 hours in duration and are both worth 90 marks. Each paper is 33% of the total core component, the employer set project making up the final third. The marks from both exams are combined and your students must pass overall. If the student doesn't pass either exams, they must resit both exams in the following series. For more information about resits, please visit our support video called Assessment, Results and Resits. The mark from all 3 assessments will be combined to give an overall mark and are graded at A star to E. Both exams follow the same format. Each paper consists of Section A and Section B. Your students must attempt both sections. Section A is weighted 40% and Section B is weighted 60%. The exams draw from the complete core content, element 1 through to element 13. The content must be sampled during the lifetime of the specification. The amount of the content from each element depends on the size and importance of the element. Now we'll take a look in a little bit more detail at the 2 exams, using the scheme of assessment from the specification. Paper 1 covers elements 1 to 12. The paper includes short, medium and extended open response questions. Paper 2 covers elements 3, 4, 5, 7 and 13. Element 13 is only covered in this paper. This is a specialist core knowledge and understanding for the accounting TQ. The paper includes short, medium and extended open response questions. Plus in this paper there are labelling questions. The Employer Set Project, or the ESP for short, is the 3rd assessment for the core component. It is 33% of the overall core component, worth 90 marks. The outcome of this assessment gets added to the core exams to create the overall grade for the core component. If a student passes the core exams and fails the employer set project, they will only have to resit the ESP again. Please visit our video of assessment rules and resets for further information. The ESP is made up of 5 tasks. Each task has a specific duration of time allocated to it, which in total equates 12.5 hours. The assessment window is set by Pearson, and we will look at how the assessments are scheduled within the window in a couple of slides' time. The employer set project draws synoptically from the course content and is based around skills. It is assessed via a set of assessment objectives, which we'll look at on the next slide. When responding to the project, your students will need to draw on natural occurring synopticity from the common core content and the specialist pathway content in element 13. Your students will be given a realistic set of scenarios and work to complete as part of the project. The format and the structure of the ESP will remain the same over the lifetime of the qualification. What will change is the scenario's context and the activities within them. All students will take the same ESP in the same assessment series. There is no provider adaptation permitted to the project. As previously mentioned, the employer set project draws synoptically from the content and is based around the core skills. It is assessed through a set of assessment objectives as demonstrated on this slide. The skills are not hierarchical, instead they show the range of skills that will be assessed in the ESP. They will sometimes be assessed in combination. This will depend on the significance of the EO and the requirements of each specific task. For example, AO2, applying knowledge and skills, is really significant, therefore it appears multiple times across the overall project. The employer set project is intended to take place in a window set over 3 weeks. This is indicative timetable that gives a notional view of how the tasks are intended to be organised. It is important to note that these timetables are indicative and adjustments may be made in live delivery to account for variables such as changeable dates for Easter and placements of bank holidays. The assessment window is set by Pearson and the date of the assessment window will be published in the key dates schedule. This is published annually and is located on the Accounting TQ webpage. The Accounting TQ is made up of 5 tasks. Each task has a specific duration of time allocated to it, which equals 12.5 hours. Most of the tasks will take place at a specific date and time set by Pearson. These are Task 1, Task 2A, Task 2B, Task 3 and Task 4. This is because there is a single set of sources supplied for the task or a single answer. The pre-release Task 2C and Task 5 are shown here in bold and can be scheduled by you within the window allocated by Pearson. The pre-release task will be available to providers to download and will be handed out to students before the ESP tasks commence. Your students will be given 1 week to independently research and familiarise themselves with the research topic, with a recommendation of spending no more than 4 hours in total carrying out the independent research. Task 2C and Task 5 will be scheduled by you, but please note that Pearson will give you the duration these tasks must be completed in. For further information on assessment, please make sure you attend our Getting Ready to Assess events. Okay, so what's next? Well, firstly, familiarise yourself with the specification and specification assessment materials. Also, make sure you receive our monthly T-Level e-bulletin. You can also book onto our Getting Ready to Teach and Getting Ready to Assess training events and watch the admin support videos in our engagement hub. Finally, you can also make use of the course materials. There are a number of ways you can contact us, either online, email or by post. The most direct method is via the Pearson support portal. Thank you for listening to this information video. I hope you found it useful. Please remember to take advantage of our Getting Ready to Teach and Getting Ready to Assess events. And don't forget to sign up to receive our monthly T-Level e-bulletin.